Hey Bookends! Welcome to a 10-minute book review. I'm 10. I am sorry about all of the noise outside. Once again, I live in the hood. Not the country hood, the city hood. And so there's always something going on outside. I believe they are fixing up an abandoned house outside for gentrification reasons. So, yay! Okay, so let's get right on into it. This week's book review is Grayscale by T. Reilly. We like to start off each one of our reviews. Oh, thank God they're quiet. So we like to start off every one of our reviews with a star point, as in out of 10 stars, how many stars did this review garner? And also a rating, as in if this was a movie or a TV show, what would it be rated? PG-R, what would it be rated? Star point, this book is an 8 out of 10 stars. It was really good. And rating, this would be a PG. Some of the subject matter could tilt it towards R if the author had written it differently. So I like the way that he did write it. It becomes a solid PG 13. So jumping right on in, we meet Quentin. Quentin has a pen name to help protect his personal life from the public, but he is a graphic novelist who does a lot of his work in grayscale, or, you know, black to white grayscale. He is a successful graphic novelist. He's put out 2 graphic novels, both of which have made him enough money that he was able to buy a loft in Philadelphia and basically live off of his royalties for quite some time, not having to work. His agent calls him and lets him know, like, hey dude, I got this job for you. This true crimes novelist wants to, well, actually the guy wasn't really a true crimes novelist, but there was a story that really interested him. But yeah, he's like, this true crime novelist wants to collaborate with you. Quentin does not want to do a collaboration. Quentin is not for that. In fact, there are only 2 people who know that Quentin is this famous, I guess, graphic novelist. And that's his agent and also his best friend from college, who still checks in with him even though he's kind of a flake. So he doesn't really want to do it, but his agent tells him, like, listen dude, people aren't going to love you forever and they're not going to remember you forever. And also too, I work off of commission, so I need this just as much as you need this. So he agrees to meet with the true crimes novelist, and he tells him about a story. There was a woman who was married to a much older man. The older man was a poet, a really good poet. I think he had 1 or 2 good poetry books, had a lot of awards. Then he became a novelist, and unfortunately his novel didn't do well. He became a professor in a college. He met this young lady. He married this young lady, and not too long after, they both disappear. They never find either of their bodies. However, they find enough evidence in the road by their home to make it clear that this man is dead. They don't have his body, but they find enough DNA or human samples on the road to say that a person can't live with this much of them not inside of them. So Quentin, he's not really into true crimes and stuff like that, but he's like, you know what, I will give this a shot. So the novelist that he's supposed to be working with gives him like a satchel full of stuff in regards to the case. And dude even buys the house that used to belong, not Quentin, but the guy he's doing the collaboration with even buys the house of the dude who's dead. I'm like, that's one, you got money to burn, basically, to be buying dead folk houses for no reason because you're not going to move into it. And then 2, that's some like creepy dedication to just buy some random dead guy's house. So anyway, Quentin takes the satchel home. He starts going through the satchel and he sees the woman's diary. The woman's name is Allison. So he finds her diary and he starts reading it, and the diary is weird because it's like in the 3rd person. Like instead of saying I and me, it says the girl and the man, and so it kind of takes her out of it. It's like if I was writing something and instead of saying, so I did a review today, I would be writing, so 10 wrote a review today, even though I'm 10. So Quentin is like, this doesn't sound like a diary. Maybe since the man himself, who is presumed dead, maybe since he was a creative, he married a creative, and even though this book that I have looks like a diary, might have even been intended to be a diary, maybe it's being used or was used instead as some place to write story ideas. He's not sure, but he keeps reading. As he goes through the satchel, he gets cut, and throughout the book it's like he still feels the pain from the cut, and he feels almost like he has an infection, even though when he goes to the doctor's like, dude, you're fine, dude, there's no infection, dude, chill. We figure out that Quentin, I don't want to say that he's crazy, because he's not. He's not crazy, but there have been some things in his life that have left him mentally touched. So basically in life, things pass us by, things kind of swoop over our minds, right? So we're looking up, seeing the things that are happening, but they just keep going. They never actually touch our brain. We just keep moving past them. Even if it's bad things, such as if you see a really bad thing outside, you've seen it, you've mentally dealt with it, it may stay with you for a little bit, but your life continues on, and for the most part, it doesn't affect you. Quentin was touched by a bad thing, like a really bad thing happened to him, and it didn't just go over him, it touched him. And so he has been living his life ever since that event with the feel of this bad thing still pressing against him. He's been working really hard not to allow it to, but it has. And I think that it has caused him to be a functioning schizophrenic. And the way he tries to treat himself is with alcohol. So he self-medicates himself with alcoholism, and also kind of being a low-grade hermit. He still goes on the occasional date. He still will have sex randomly, but for the most part he prefers to live his life in solitude, and he appreciates the solitude. He especially appreciates the night, where everything is different shades of gray and black. So yeah, keep that in mind. He is kind of low-key schizophrenic, and he self-medicates with alcohol. So the more he reads about this woman named Allison, who was the wife of the professor who used to be an award-winning poet and a adequate at best novelist, it reminds him of a woman that he used to know by the name of Sarah. He drew a picture of Sarah, a sketch of her, and it's up on his wall. And so from time to time he looks at the picture of Sarah and he always says, I'm going to take this picture down, I'm going to take it down. He never does. Poor Quentin. So yeah, he sees similarities between Sarah and Allison. There aren't really any similarities between the two, but he visualizes similarities. And the more he works on this book, the stronger his hallucinations become. Now there's a second part of this book, and it is with a man by the name of Gerard or Gerald? Gerald, I believe. Gerald, yes. So Gerald is, I think this is back in the either early 80s, late 70s, because VCRs were just coming out. I think VCRs came out, yeah, VCRs came out in the 80s, right? Don't quote me, but I believe they did. Anyway, so he becomes a private investigator, and he's looking into a case, and he sees this beautiful woman with porcelain skin. He describes her skin as being so clear that it was almost as if she was a walking doll. And he sees a murder take place, or a scene take place, someone being shot. And that sticks with him. It doesn't stick with him in the same way that Quentin's been touched. Because once again, like most of us, if a bad thing happens, even if a good thing happens, it goes over us. We're able to look at it as it goes over us, and it keeps moving. So the same with him. He saw a gory murder that wasn't described in a gory way. The author did a really good job at describing things that could be considered gory in a way that won't turn the stomach of the reader. It's very easy to take in and to keep moving. So we move past Gerald. Remember, Gerald's in the past, Quentin's in the now. So we've moved past Gerald and we're back to Quentin, and the hallucinations are kind of getting worse, but he's also very interested in finding out what's happening. In fact, even when he read the journal, he sees that there are a few pages in the back of it missing, and he also sees that there are some pictures hidden in the journal, in the spine of the journal. So he ends up going to the house where the poet lived with his wife, with Allison, to get inspiration so he can draw these pictures for the novel better. And stuff just starts to pop off. It's kind of a murder mystery, but it's like you don't even know if a murder really happened or where these people went. It's like a girl on the train. Is it a girl on the train or a woman on the train? I think it was a girl on the train type mind thing, mind freak. There were like 3 times in the book where I thought I had figured out what happened, and I was wrong all 3 times. Like there was one time that I thought that the novelist and Gerald were the same person, and I was wrong with that. I thought that I knew who the killer was if a murder had been committed, and I was wrong with that too. And I'm pretty good at guessing things. I like that the author didn't create a labyrinth of facts to kind of confuse the reader. He just wrote things out and allowed you to come to your own conclusions, even if your own conclusions were wrong, until you get to the end and you figured out that way. It wasn't like an Agatha Christie thing where you are reading everything. You have not missed anything, but then there's like a new clue that's added in, and it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't back there. You know, or it wasn't like a Sherlock Holmes thing where you have to be a low-grade scientist to understand what's happening. Everything was put forward in a very straightforward kind of way. I should say everything was put forth in a very straightforward kind of way. I just wasn't able to guess who, like what actually happened. And also the girl's way of writing, Allison's way of writing was kind of odd. It was kind of, in my opinion, self-deprecating. Not because she actually said anything bad about herself, she didn't. But if I was writing about myself in a third person and not using my name, I would say the woman. I wouldn't call myself the girl because I'm a grown woman. But I think she might have been writing about herself and the way that she believed her husband saw her. One time she lamented that he saw her as perfect and he was upset that she was no longer perfect, and that he was a silly person because nothing is perfect. So yeah, it was an interesting book. Yeah, it was an interesting read. I highly recommend it for anyone who is into suspense that will keep you thinking but won't gross you out. It's weird because in a way it's like Quentin almost was seeing ghosts, but there were no ghosts. There were ghosts of his own making because his mind wasn't working properly because he was self-medicating schizophrenia with alcohol. There was one point in the book where he said, no, we have a deal. He's talking to himself. It's like, no, we have a deal. I don't see this stuff when I'm drunk. I never see this stuff when I'm drunk. So he's drinking on purpose to keep the thoughts and the visions and stuff away, which is a reality for some people. You know, self-medicating is one of the quickest ways to fix a problem that, one, you can't afford to fix if you don't have health insurance. 2, you're embarrassed to fix because you don't want other people to know that you have it. or 3 you're just sure you can fix on your own because you don't want any help. So self-medicating isn't anything new or odd or out there or off-putting. I hope, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a second book. I hope that Quentin does get help if there is a second book. If not, this is a really good mystery. It was fun to read. Finished it in one night, so it's not hefty. So once again, the book is Grayscale by T. Reilly. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Bye, bookends.